What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Fantasy Flex podcast from the Action Network and Fantasy Labs. I'm your host, Chris Raybon. NFL Week 15 is here. It's our player projections episode, and as always, I'm joined by one of the most accurate rankers in the game, the odds maker, Sean Kerner. Sean, how's it going?
What's up? Pretty good. Congrats again on another, top 3 week in the accuracy contest. It was another week where we were both top 2. I just think it's this time of year we have so much data to go off of. We're literally in midseason form. I feel like we're getting all these touchdown bets and everything. So let's keep it rolling.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's just you always think about the ones that you get wrong. Like I'm just like, but I mean, everyone got it wrong, but like Jaden Reed, like where was he on Thursday night? My God. But yeah, congrats to you as well. And we will keep it going here. We go through every position, our top fives. Guys we're high and low on. We throw out a prop. So we'll get right to quarterback. Quick reminder, all of our fantasy football content available right now over at fantasylabs.com. That includes our award-winning rankings and projections. Fantasylabs.com is where you can find them. All right, quarterback for week 15. No teams on bye. Who you got in the top 5, Sean?
All right, I got Josh Allen, then massive gap. Then Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, and Jaden Daniels.
I got definitely Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, Joe Burrow, and Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray just edged out. Yeah, Jalen Hurts.
Love it.
Jalen Hurts' pass rate keeps sinking in my projections. Clearly, it's an issue. Okay. Who are you high on this week at the quarterback position?
I'm high on CJ Stroud against the Dolphins, and he's having a bit of a down year this year, but I think a lot of that's just been due to his offensive line letting him down. He's been facing a ton of pressure, but the line played much better in week 13 heading into the bye. They only allowed 4 pressures, so hopefully they can keep that trend going here after the bye. But I think either way, this could be more of a shootout against the Dolphins where, Stroud needs to throw at a higher rate here. Plus, Nico Collins should be pretty much 100% now following the bye week, which I think is huge. And Stroud, he has some rushing upside. He doesn't really use it, but he has been tapping into that a bit more, which is a nice bonus, I think, because of the offensive line issues. So, I haven't had him inside the top 10 in a while. So happy to talk about him here because he's my QB9 to start the week with no teams on bye. But again, this could be a potential shootout. So I think we'll see Stroud, play closer to his ceiling hopefully this week.
Yeah, I mean, Tua's been playing well. That Dolphins offense should be able to do something against Houston. They've been, throwing a ton. So yeah, I'm hoping for a shootout. Hoping Houston doesn't just try to take the air out of the ball. Again, and just run it down their throats. But Stroud he's my QB at 11 to start the week, so I'm right in startable range as well. I am high on Pat Mahomes. He's our QB 14. Like I know he's had some up and down. He's had an up and down year this year, and it didn't look great against the Chargers. But he's throwing a ton. His pass rate over expected is about close to 10%, over what you'd expect in terms of calling design passes for the Chiefs. So I think you're still in a good spot with Mahomes here. I think he's still a top 10 quarterback. I actually have him as QB7 this week against the Cleveland Browns. And, look at his numbers since he got DeAndre Hopkins, and his touchdown rate has gone up, considerably. Now, the Chargers were a tough matchup last week. The week before, he had 306 yards against the Raiders. The week before that, he had 3 touchdowns and 269 against the Panthers, 3 touchdowns against the Bills. So 3 touchdowns a couple weeks before that against Tampa. So I think he's back to being Patrick Mahomes, and it's just the craziness that Jameis Winston could actually put up a good number on this Chiefs defense. So I don't have any reservations about starting Mahomes this week. I mean, no matter who the running backs have been, Pacheco's back, Pacheco's out, they're throwing. They're throwing the football. And they started out, they were a little bit run heavy to start the year. And, that just kind of dissipated. So I'm going to roll with Patrick Mahomes. They want to continue to get better this time of year. Yeah. So I don't think they're just going to start taking the air out of the ball. And he gets a lot of man coverage playing Cleveland, and their defense has not been good. 25th in DVOA against the pass. So I think this is kind of an underrated matchup for Patrick Mahomes. People probably scared off of him, but like if you drafted Patrick Mahomes, don't bench him now. Like just don't do that. Who are you low on at quarterback, Sean?
I'm low on Bo Nix against the Colts. Now, I'm not really down on Nix in real life per se. He's getting better and better as a passer. I'm assuming, coming off a bye week, should continue to improve here to close out the season. However, in fantasy, he just hasn't been using his legs as much. He hasn't rushed for more than 5 yards now in 4 straight games. So that it makes him a tricky projection because obviously he has rushing upside, but he's just leaning on his arm more. And quarterbacks like Jared Goff, Tua, are QB2 types who obviously have top 10 upside any given week, but just their lack of rushing stats kind of lower their floor. So that's kind of what's going on with Nix for me. So he's, on the fringe. He's my QB13 right now. And if you haven't, you've been playing him, you got to stick with him. But again, just his ceiling is just a little bit lower given the lack of rushing upside. So yeah, Nix is the guy where, ECR still has him QB7. In order for him to get back there, he'd have to bring back his scrambling. So I'm a bit lower on Nix to open the week.
Yeah, I'm at QB13 as well. And I have kind of adjusted his rushing for the trend. So his scramble rate has gone down to a little about under 4%. And his design carries have also gone down to around that same rate. So yeah, I only have him for about 4 carries, whereas he was getting 6 earlier in the year. I am low on Baker Mayfield. He is my QB 15 to open the week. He's the ECR QB 12. So Baker Mayfield is a guy that I would kind of be a little bit careful with, just because this Charger defense has just week after week been good. They've held their offense down. Their offense really hasn't been able to score many points. And Baker's looked a little off these last couple of weeks. I know he had some good numbers last week, but I much rather play his receivers and Otten and Mike Evans than play him against the Chargers, because you just don't know, especially if they still have that 2 running backs that they would use even if Bucky Irving's out. They would still go with Rashad White and Sean Tucker. So I don't want to necessarily play Baker in a tough matchup like this against the Chargers unless I really have to, when he's not. He got hurt a couple weeks ago and he was off the injury report, but I don't know. He just looking a little off compared to where he was early in the year. He's not running as much, and that also takes a little bit out of his upside. So yeah, Baker a little lower on him than the consensus. All right, where are you going for the prop, Sean?
All right, let's just go straight up. Who's going to score more fantasy points this week? Anthony Richardson or Bo Nix? 2 guys right on that sit-start cusp. Maybe you picked up both guys and have to make a decision. So you're in week 1 of the fantasy playoffs. Which of these 2 are you starting?
Bo Nix. Because I just think that there's benching risk with Richardson, yeah. It's not big benching risk, but it's not 0. Whereas Nick's is probably closer to 0. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Bo.
Okay.
Who do you have higher?
I have them literally tied.
Yeah.
Both right at 18 points. So, that's a good point with the benching risk. I think it's certainly low, but it's whatever it is, it's higher than Bo Nix.
Yeah, and injury risk. More injury risk too. Remember, he has gotten knocked out quite a few because they call so many design runs for him. It's there is a non-zero, and Nix he's throwing more in design design runs, so his injury risk is going down.
True.
All right, running back top 5 for week 15. Who you got, Sean?
All right, this is a fun week. Derrick Henry number 1. Then I got Saquon Barkley, Chuba Hubbard, Bijan Robinson, and Joe Mixon.
Okay, I got Joe Mixon number 1 still. Henry number 2, Barkley number 3. Number 1? Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. He's been pretty consistent with the carry. I know he had a couple bad efficiency games, but he's been getting all the carries. Henry, Barkley, Chuba Hubbard, and Bijan Robinson. So yeah, Chuba, man, you're hiring him this week, right? We're both on.
Yeah. So I got the guy I'm high on is Chuba Hubbard. Against the Cowboys here, obviously just devastating news with Jonathan Brooks tearing his ACL again. I mean, he's going to be a stud once he is healthy, but that's just a huge blow to start his career. So now, Hubbard's going to see even more touches. Potentially, Raheem Blackshear and Mike Boone, giving him the occasional breather, but he's just going to have a massive workload rest of season, especially this week. The Panthers are a couple point favorites, which means they're going to be even more run heavy than usual. And Hubbard gets to face a Cowboys defense that's already struggled against run this year, but they're without DeMarvion Overshone, who suffered that season-ending knee injury, another devastating injury there. But having said all that, Hubbard opens the week inside my top 3. Not that you needed like any advice to start him, but man, he is a top 3 option this week. And the other guy is Tank Bigsby. I was low on him a couple weeks ago just because I wasn't sure how this backfield would shake out, with Travis Etienne healthy. And sure enough, Bigsby mixed in back in week 13 against the Texans. But, last week where the Jaguars, won the game, Bigsby was the workhorse back. He rushed 18 times, 55 yards and a touchdown. So this is a game against the Jets. We should see another competitive close game from the Jaguars. So that sets up better for Bigsby. So I think you could trust him as, like an RB3 flex option. And he's still available in, over 50% of leagues. So if you need a plug and play this week and just the rest of the fantasy playoffs, I think Bigsby is sneaky for a guy that's, available in more than half the leagues right now.
Yeah, he's just, he has some of that volatility just because he's like their guy when they're ahead and they're in normal rush game scripts. And then if they go down, then it's a lot of ETN. But I agree, he's got a lot of upside too, because he's broken off some big runs this year. So against the Jets, I mean, they haven't blown out anybody. So yeah, I wouldn't feel right. I wouldn't be too scared to start him this week. I'm high on Rico Dowdle this week. The other side of that Chuba Hubbard matchup, he's getting that same workload now as Chuba. They've banished Ezekiel Elliott. And last week, or on Monday night, I should say, what I liked about Dowdle was they started to use him more on third downs and things, those obvious pass situations where they'd been using Hunter Lipke, the fullback, as the pass protecting kind of back. Now, he only had about a 17% route rate. Did Lipke? He's usually up around 30-35%. And Dowdle started to get those snaps too. And he's also getting like 80% of the backfield carries last 3 games as well. So Dowdle is really, truly that feature back for the Cowboys right now. And this is the best matchup you could have for a run defense. Carolina 32nd in run defense DVOA. So I think Dowdle, fresh off his first 100-yard game, keeps it going here against the Panthers. Okay, running back, who you low on for week 15?
I'm low on James Cook, and I was low on him last week, despite the decent matchup against the Rams. But it was a game where Josh Allen just put the team on his back, was responsible for 6 touchdowns. And Allen's really their goal line back right now, which limits Cook's upside because he also has to deal with, Ray Davis and Ty Johnson mixing in as well. So this is another tough spot for him against the Lions. We could see Cook, have a lighter workload, and he's facing a Lions defense that's been a tough matchup for running backs all year. So this is a game where it probably be more of a pass heavy game script than normal. We might see Ty Johnson mix in a bit more. So James Cook, opens the week as a lower end RB2 for me rather than the mid range RB2 rank he has on ECR right now. But he's a guy that just this time of year it's been kind of dicey relying on him in these must-win games. So hopefully you have a better option. If not, again, he should be like a low-end RB2 option, but very limited upside right now going to this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I think he has upside. I think the floor is what's low. I mean, he had 6 carries last week.
That was his floor is lowered.
The upside is he's going to score 3 touchdowns against the Lions. He's going to 9 carries, 3 touchdowns. Like that's the James. Like I can't. How many carries do you have him for? I have him like 12.6. It's hard to even get him to 13.
12. I'm at 12.
Yeah. It's I mean, now we're 15 weeks into the season, like you said, we have data, and given his normal share of the backfield, he's getting given up some time to Ray Davis, to Ty Johnson. So he has about 65% of the designed non-quarterback rushing attempts. And that's, the Bills aren't getting more than 18 to 20 some weeks. So, yeah, it's tough. Okay. Oh, Javonte Williams, easily for me, in terms of guys on loan. I mean, he's still top 35 running back in the ECR. His last 4 games, 4 carries, 1 yard, and a touchdown. Bailed him out. 8 carries, -2 yards, no touchdowns. 9 carries, 59 yards, and a touchdown. Okay, it's one good game. And then 1 carry, 1 yard, and a touchdown. So 3 of the last 4 games, this dude has had 1 yard or fewer rushing. Not even like 1 yard or fewer. He had a -2 on 8 carries. I mean, that is wow. Yeah, that's not a guy you don't want to have him anywhere near your starting lineup. That's why I think Jaleel McLaughlin would be he's going to get the first crack. But at this point, you also have Estime waiting in the wings, and Javonte, his real value comes in terms of passing down, pass protection, things like that. So, they could still use him at that, and him not really get many carries at all. So, yeah, I don't think you want to be anywhere near Javonte unless you're, super desperate in a deep PPR league. Okay, let's go with the running back prop, and let's go to that Denver backfield. Let's go with McLaughlin. Rushing yardage for Jaleel McLaughlin. I'm going to go 40.5.
Yeah, it was 37, 38 was going to be my guess. Yeah, Colts tend to allow higher volume. Oh, man. I'll go over.
Yeah, I think that's the right play.
Yeah, like if he does get the hot hand, he's probably going way over. They're just very tough to set median projections for. That's kind of why the other week on Action I gave out Jaleel's alt overs, because if you're going to take the over on his median, just take the over like 20 yards higher. So I think that's a great line, but again, he's either finishing with like 20 or 60. So give me the over. I'm with you. I think they got to give up on trying to give Javonte early down work. And Marvin Mims, he's actually like starting to blossom as a receiver. So maybe they cut back on his running back usage, and they just kind of stick with the guy rolling right now, Jaleel. So yeah, the more I think about it, yes, give me over 40.5.
Yeah, like I have him right around 10 carries. Kind of my projection model kind of looks at, it weights the last few games really for running backs, kind of throws out a lot of the early season stuff. Receiver, you can kind of use a little more, depth chart, but running backs, it's very recent, outside of like game script issues. So in a situation like this, it's been like, essentially 2 games now of Jaleel leading the backfield. So that's it's kind of what you got to project at this point.
Yeah.
Okay. Receiver. No teams on bye. Jamar Chase, another massive game. I'm guessing he's your number 1.
Yeah, he's my number 1. Puka Nacua is second, and then I got Justin Jefferson, Nico Collins, and Drake London, number 5.
Ooh, Drake London. Is Kirk Cousins going to be the quarterback for this Drake London massive game, or is it going to be?
I don't care
Penix?
Who's throwing him the ball. I'm a bit, yeah. Maybe he would probably drop out of my top 5. You need Kirk Cousins in there throwing interceptions and forcing a pass-heavy game script. But if it's not Drake London, then it's T. Higgins. So I'm going to have fun and just stick with Drake London as my number 5.
Okay, I got Jamar Chase, Puka Nacua, Nico Collins, Amon-Ra, St. Brown, and then Justin Jefferson. Who you high on for week number 15 at wide receiver?
I'm high on Juwan Jennings. He's just been playing an elite level ever since Brandon Ayuk's season-ending injury. Since then, he's been more of a full-time player with a 93% routes run rate, 27% target rate, like a consistent 27. Like every week he's getting 27% of the targets. He's been the wide receiver 8 since week 10. And should keep it rolling here against the Rams, especially with the 49ers running back room just being even more decimated with Grendo potentially missing. They might have to be even more pass heavy. So he opens the week inside my top 12. And the other guy I'm high on is, Drake London's teammate, Darnell Mooney. I mentioned a few weeks ago that he's become really a solid high floor option, but he still has, massive upside. We saw that last week. Caught 6 balls for 142 yards. Should keep rolling here against the Raiders this week. So he's a mid-range wide receiver 3 for me. Do have to wonder though, going forward, if Michael Penix Jr. does replace Kirk Cousins, I'll probably bump Mooney down a bit. They just won't be as pass heavy, I would imagine. So that could be a concern over the next couple weeks. But as of right now, Darnell Mooney is just a solid wide receiver 3 option. He's had like a very impressive season, and last week again he showed that he does have a pretty high ceiling as well.
Yeah, and honestly, the Falcons haven't even been that pass heavy, so they might not even drop too much with Penix because they've been trying to, if their actual pass rate over expected hasn't been high. They've been passing a lot in some games because they get down, but I actually have their pass rate over expected well below, about 3 or 4% below league average. So, they might just kind of do the same thing with Penix or even pass more because it's not Kirk Cousins. So, yeah, I like Mooney as well. I'm high on Courtland Sutton this week. He is my wide receiver 8. And he has just, he's going up against his Colts defense. They love to play that, cover 1, cover 3, single high safety, Gus Bradley scheme. And Sutton leads the team 2.5 yards per route against those coverages, 25% target share. So I think he's going to keep on rolling. He's like that one consistent guy in this Denver passing attack, and with Bo Nix scrambling less, that just adds, another target or 2 per game to the projection for these Denver receivers. So really like Sutton to keep on rolling here. Who are you low on wide receiver heading into week 15?
Hate to do this, but I'm going to go Zay Flowers here against the Giants because obviously this is a great matchup against a tanking Giants team. However, this is just one of those situations where the Ravens will likely blow them out and have a pretty run-heavy game plan. So, Flowers will probably have to get most of his production earlier in the game, like the first half. So if he doesn't start cooking in the first half, his floor could be lower than usual this week. So he's just more of a wide receiver 3 option for me this week, where probably start him if you still, have to play him. But I'm not saying Zay Flowers is going to suck. Just I have a few other players like Brian Thomas Jr., Khalil Shakir, Jordan Addison, all ranked higher than him than ECR. I think all those guys probably provide a better, floor ceiling combo. Whereas Flowers, again, he might like tear it up in the first half, but he's got to do it then because these game scripts that could go pretty awry, just a little bit lower floor this week. So hate to do it because obviously he's going to go 6 catches for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns in the first half. But anyways, like when it comes to making projections, he is a guy that I flag as, potentially having a lower floor.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, the Ravens they've been a team that's not been that pass heavy, and this Giant team doesn't look like a team that's going to force that out of them at this point. I'm lower on DJ Moore this week. He's my wide receiver 30. He's wide receiver 24 in consensus. And I just think, we saw the Bears kind of, the air come out of the sails a little bit with that offense. And, he did have the big game against Minnesota in the first matchup. So, they're going to be looking to take him away a little bit more. The first time they played, it was right. They had just kind of switched to the new, to Thomas Brown taking over at coordinator and a couple, the game before that. And so, there were still kind of new things that they were doing with Moore, but he was super efficient in that game. 7 catches on 7 targets for 106 and a touchdown. So I just don't think that Minnesota is going to let him be the one to beat them this weekend. We started to see finally Aroma Dunze break out. So now that he's starting to break out, that just makes it a little more volatile with Moore. And Cole Kmet didn't even catch a ball last week. None of the tight ends did. So that's just another thing that could, start to eat in to Moore. And, he got that really good game against Minnesota, but then, the week after it was 897-1, but 8 of 16 targets. So that's a little shaky. And, last week, just 49 yards on 6 catches for 8 targets. So I just think he's more of a wide receiver 3 than a wide receiver 2 this week. Okay. What are we doing for the wide receiver prop, Sean?
Let's do a Jordan Addison prop. One of my
right.
favorite rookies last year. He and JSN are just in the middle of massive breakouts right now.
Yeah.
Addison has been just balling out these past few weeks. So just curious, like take a temperature on his prop and kind of talk him out a bit. But this is a game they might be able to lean on the run more here against the Bears. But I'm going to set his line at 62.5.
Ooh, I got under that. I still got him in the mid 50s. So I'm guessing you saw that he scored the long touchdown on where it was D. Alford for the Falcons. Like he should have had an interception on that pass. Like Jordan Addison should not have had that long touchdown. So yeah, I think he is just balling out, but that was kind of fluky, and I know that's kind of factoring in. So I'm gonna go under here, like you said. Low total game. Vikings a favorite. Could lean on a run here. The Bears have been bottom 3 run defense and a top 10 pass defense most of the year. So yeah, I gotta go under. Hate to do it, but he's another guy. Medians don't really matter a lot of the time for him either. I mean, he could.
True.
If he goes over, he'll probably go 100 plus.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, tight end. Who you got for your top 5, Sean?
Ooh. Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, George Kittle, Travis Kelce, David Njoku.
I got Kelce, McBride, Kittle, Bowers, Njoku. I still have Ritter starting because O'Connell was in an air cast, but yeah, if got Bowers, he gets lowered a little bit if Ritter starts compared to O'Connell.
Yeah, I have AOC in there, so he's tight end 1. But yeah, if it's Ritter, he'll absolutely fall out of the top spot. And McBride, I'm still projecting McBride for 0.3 touchdowns, so maybe I should just set that to 0. I don't know what to do there,
yeah.
But at some point he will score a touchdown. I promise you.
Yeah, I mean, 3-4 weeks left. 3 weeks of fantasy left. So, speaking of guys scoring touchdowns, I know you like a guy this week who got one last week.
Yeah, I'm high on Tucker Kraft. Against the Seahawks, just been a monster in terms of underlying usage, where he's averaged a 91% routes run rate over the last 5 games. Starting to see more targets too. He's seen over a 20% target rate in the last 2 games. Probably, a lot of that's due to Romeo Doubs being out. So if he returns, I'll probably lower his target rate a bit. And that last week he overcame, a tougher matchup against the Lions. They've been really good against tight ends this season. This is an easier spot against the Seahawks. And yeah, like you mentioned, he's been one of Jordan Love's favorite red zone targets. So I think he has, massive touchdown upside like every week now. So he opens week as my tight end 7.
Yeah, I got him tight end 9 even with Dobbs playing. So I don't think he's gonna get knocked down too much at this point. It's that underlying usage. You just have to go roll with that, especially at this point in the season and with the dumpster fire that some of these tight ends have been. Kyle Pitts, looking at you. I'm high on Zach Ertz. He is a guy that I would consider starting this week. He's my tight end 11 against the Saints, and they've been one of the worst defenses against tight ends this year. They are 24th in DVOA, and Ertz starting to see his route rate tick up a bit to close to 90%. Now some of that is just trailing game scripts, but I still think he's been playing well enough, and the position is bad enough that every week he gives you a pretty usable floor, which you can't say for most tight ends. He's still kind of that number 2 target in the offense, and Eckler's out. And you have Noah Brown got banged up in that last game before the bye too, so think he's okay, but not sure. But Ertz 3 straight games with a touchdown, 6 catches in 2 out of the last 3 as well. So like Zach Ertz if you need him. Who you low on for week 15, Sean? Tight end.
Oh God, I hate to do this. It's Jonnu Smith, and if you have him, you're still starting him. Trust me, don't bench him. But just continues to be a league winner. Caught 3 balls for 44 yards last week, but managed to score a touchdown. So again, he's just like on a historic run here. But with both Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle finally starting to heat up, we finally saw like the first game where both wide receivers had a big game. Tua is going to have to throw for more than 330 yards for everybody to eat like last week. So it'll be tougher to trust Jonnu if this trend continues. Plus, this is just a tougher matchup against the Texans. They rank third in DVOA against tight ends. So I'm just a little bit down on him. He opens the week as my tight end 11. There's no teams on bye. You have some really good tight ends starting to heat up, like TJ Hawkinson, Sam Laporta. So it's just bumped Jonnu down a bit. Again, if you have him, you're riding him through thick and thin, but I'm a bit lower on him at tight end 11 this week.
Yeah, he had no catches. Yeah, no catches in regulation. All 3 of those catches and a touch.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, he would have goose egged if that game wasn't tied.
Wow.
But yeah, it's tough at this position this time of year. I mean, like you said, can't really bench him. But it could have ended up with a goose egg. I mean, sheesh, just
that's why I didn't know that. That's insane.
I'm on Mark Andrews this week. I actually think he's the guy I would worry about even more than Zay Flowers at wide receiver, because he's been kind of living off touchdowns, but his route rate when likely has been healthy, has been right there around 65%. And only 14 of his 43 catches have come when the Ravens are leading. And remember, they've been leading a lot this year, and they're playing the Giants as 15-point favorites. So this could be a game where you don't need to really use Andrews as much. And they've obviously been trying to keep him in bubble wrap a little bit. They've been using him, when they're behind and when they need the productions. But this could be a game where you start to see, his production dip back down again. And the Giants have been one of the best teams against tight ends. So yeah, Mark Andrews, I think he's kind of outside of that startable range unless you're in a really deep league. He's my tight end 16 this week. All right, Sean, who we got for the tight end prop? Oh, no, it's mine. It's my prop, right? Yeah, it's me.
What do you got? What sort of disgusting prop are you going to go with this week?
Okay, you know what? Let's go with Stone Smart. Because I actually have him. I'll give you over under 34.5 receiving yards.
That's a good line. I'll go under, but I'm right there. I have him at 32. Where do you have him ranked?
Like 21st, tight end 21 or something.
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah,
same. He's maybe you're not starting him in a 12-team league, but deeper leagues, like I'm in a dynasty league, absolutely in play in that. But he looked pretty good. Once Dizzy got knocked out, like he looked pretty good. Could be like a red zone target for Herbert too. So yeah, I think that's a great line. I bet that's what his prop ends up being, right around there, like 34.5.
Just don't use him on a fake punt. Like he had that fake punt where they executed it, and he was still somehow he dove and he was like weighing out, and he was still like a full yard short. I've never seen something like that. So yeah, just don't use him on fake punts. But he should. Nice. He's the backup receiving tight end, and Disley is gonna miss some time. So all right, let me mark that down.
And Hayden Hurst is still on IR, right? Like he's
done. I haven't heard anything about him, so I assume he's. Yeah. All right. That's going to do it for our week 15 player projections episode here on the Fantasy Flex. Be sure to subscribe to the Fantasy Flex pod so you don't miss an episode for the rest of the season. We're still dropping 3 per week. FantasyLabs.com, where all of our fantasy football content is, including our award-winning rankings and projections. And you can use code FLEX40 for $40 off right now. That's code FLEX40. Sean is on X at @the_oddsmaker. I'm at Chris Raybon. We're at those same handles on the free award-winning Action Network app. Until next week, let's get this money.